A warm welcome to Lost for Words, a podcast uncovering the opinions, glories and interesting stories of guests. I am your host Jason, and this week's episode relates to the recent Tokyo 2020 Paralympic Games. Conor Morrison is a Paralympic swimmer from Aberdeenshire who competes in the S14 category. Conor has medalled at European Championship level and reached the final of the 100 metre breaststroke event in Tokyo. Conor and his partner Chelsea join me on today's podcast. Conor chats about his disability, his route to Tokyo 2020 and the surreal experience at a Games without fans and with heavy restrictions on personal freedoms. Conor and Chelsea jointly speak about their relationship, and Chelsea gives her insight into running Conor's social media while he was away, as well as her role in supporting Conor with his sporting career. A quick housekeeping note before we get started. Please leave a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts, whether that be Apple, Google, Spotify, Podbean or any other platform. It's the best way the podcast can grow and better content can be produced for you, the listener. It's your listening experience that matters the most. But enough from me, now on to today's episode of Lost for Words. Right, Conor, so firstly, then just tell us a little bit about your disability. So what qualifies you to be a Paralympian?
Intellectual.
Yeah, it's an intellectual impairment in the brain. So it could be from having ADHD to Tourette's to autism, anything mentally in the brain. So, like how I started swimming, I was age 9? No, age 8, 9, and I kind of did it for fun, for a start, and so my first swimming club was the Geary Gators in Inverurie, and I did that for maybe a year or two, and then I moved into Geary Swimming Club, the mainstream, and I was with Patrick Miley and Hannah Miley and all that, and their sons. So I did that and was getting heaps of medals, breaking my times and all that for many years, and I did that for 7 to 8 years. Then I decided to kind of move into a coast, but it has more advanced, and but it has changed its name now to Aberdeen University Swim Team. So but yeah, back to like when I was swimming in Geary, I was there for like 7, 8 years. But overall, when I was at Gators, probably about 10, maybe 11 years. Well, no, sorry, 10 years total.
Good. And then how young were you when they realised you were good, so to speak? So when did you go from just being a swimming for fun and then you realised, geez, I have a talent for this?
I think it must have clicked on to some people at the age of maybe 15. They started seeing results that this could be a potential maybe for a future Paralympian.
And how quickly did the sort of Paralympic Scotland, like Paralympics GB, get in touch with you and bring you into the camp?
It didn't kind of it was more like I got into programs with Scottish swimming from the age of kind of 15 and upwards, and then I from 15 to probably 18, and then probably maybe 18 to 21 I got introduced to the British program. Then at the age of 2021 and 2017 I broke the world record in 2017 in Manchester, and then it kind of just clicked on there, and that was I think that was in early 2018. That's when I made my debut racing for my country at the Europeans in Dublin, and I got myself a silver there, and then a year after that, I missed out on world champs in 2019 due to mental health issues and all that. But after that, in 2020, we couldn't really do much because I was out of the pool for 6 months because of COVID. Kind of everybody in the country was out of the water because of COVID. But leading back into 2021, qualified for my second Europeans, went over to Madeira, got myself a silver again. Then getting the phone call and keeping it anonymous and secretive that I've been chosen to go to the Paralympics, but I had to keep that a secret for a month or many weeks before they announced the team, and that's how it kind of got on.
What is the selection process like for Team GB?
I was so close. I was 0.1 off the qualifying time, and I just missed out. And I think they felt that I made it, but I didn't make it. So I think they felt like, we definitely need Conor on this team.
There's so many different athletes they've got to choose from, and then narrow it down. So that's why it takes them so long before they can announce the full team.
Yeah.
Sorry, how big a step up is it going from, say, Scotland swimming at the Scottish level to then swimming at the Team GB selection level?
It's different because there's a lot more English athletes in paraswimming than there is in Scottish swimming, but in terms of classification, each class, I would say there's a lot more S14s, my class, than there is in Britain.
And I wanted to ask as well about the Tokyo 2020. Obviously it got put back by a year, and you were saying about being kept out of the pool. So if we just go back to, say, February and March 2020, where do you think you were at that time? Were you building up momentum nicely going into when Tokyo was supposed to be?
Probably not. If we'll just say this: if Tokyo did happen in 2020 in August, I probably wouldn't have been there. Probably mentally and probably physically, I probably wouldn't have been able to swim at this Olympics. But because it was a year forward, and I've kind of matured and kind of stuck into training and stuff like that, I made it, I think, with just enough training.
Going from the low then, if you said like last year you wouldn't have made it, how did you build yourself back up? What did you do in the 12 months that helped you be in a better position in 2021?
I think lockdown did me the world of good. I think that's what changed me as a person. I think that's what made me want it more.
And then if you think of, like, that's almost the inverse. To a lot of people would maybe think lockdown would have slowed them down or put them off. So how come it helped you grow as a person? What did you do during lockdown to help you on that journey?
I kept my mental health like really positive. I wasn't thinking really negative stuff about it.
And is that where, I assume, Chelsea will bring you in here? Would you have been a help in that, to help in building Conor up to being a better version of himself for Tokyo, the 2021 version versus 2020?
Well, believe it or not, I actually only met him at the start of this year, so
okay.
Not really. But from January forward, really, yeah, I was involved with that, especially before he found out if he was going to the Paralympics or not, because he thought he didn't really make the time because he was that 0.1 second off.
Yeah.
Tennis positive for that. He was originally earmarked just to go to Paris, so he wasn't supposed to qualify for Tokyo anyway. But so when he found out, it was good, and then obviously keeping him motivated and everything through the training for Tokyo prepared him to go out there by himself, because that was another big thing as well, not being able to go out with him.
Yeah, I'm going to come on to that with speaking to you, Conor. So when for anyone listening as well, when I had emailed Conor, it was Chelsea. Chelsea was in control of his all the contact stuff. So for you, Conor, what was it like being in Tokyo? Or I'll frame it a different way. What would it have been like for you going to Tokyo if there were fans and people allowed to be there? How many people would you have been able to take with you?
As much I don't know, as much as I can take. That if there was enough tickets for all my family, I would have taken all my family members. But yeah.
What was your experience like?
The experience was pretty weird. I think that this was like a different Olympics. We couldn't spectate the swimming. We weren't allowed to go to different events, different sports. We weren't allowed out of the sport village. Like the only kind of things we were allowed to do was if we were going to like breakfast, lunch or dinner, or like if you were training or competing, it would be apartment. Like if you needed food, and then back to the apartment, or if you had the apartment to training or the competition, just straight there and straight back. We couldn't socialize or mix in with people.
So when your event was finished, did you have to come straight home? So you weren't allowed to stay for the closing ceremony?
Well, they were thinking after everybody has competed in para swimming, they would give us 48 hours to kind of pack our stuff and kind of head home. But because of COVID in Japan, I believe that there was some of the athletes getting COVID, but not telling all the other teams about it, and they were going straight into isolation without telling all the countries about it. So I think Paralympic GB were thinking, right, the people that's already done their sport and they're finished now, but we're gonna chuck them on an airplane and get them home early and safe. So I was meant to be coming home on the 5th or the 6th of September, but I actually got home on the 1st of September.
How much do you think you missed out on? Because I think for me, Tokyo is a bucket list place. And I think when those Olympic Games were announced years ago, and Paralympic Games, you think, what an amazing experience that would be. So how weird is it if you're going into the biggest race of your life, and then when they tell you when you're younger and you're grown up that it's the biggest stage and the world's eyes on you, and you look around and no one's there? Is it difficult to motivate yourself?
It is. I think it's difficult to keep the motivation inside you, because like when I was at the Paralympics this summer, it just felt like a normal competition because there was no crowd. It felt like just a normal swim meet to me. But I was still trying to keep it positive, and while this is the Paralympics, I'm here. Stay positive, go and smash it, and that.
What is your pre-race routine? What do you do to get yourself in the mood and in the zone?
Right, I don't have I don't have a pre-race routine. If you're wanting something to know, like I listen to music before I race, but it's not like it's not chilling music. It's not like rap or anything like. music I listen to is Frenchcore, hardstyle, gabber, and all that, and that's what really gets me for a race.
So is that when you're walking out from the changing room to the pool, and then you see the camera pans to Conor Morrison, and he's got earpods in his ear? What would generally be playing? Was it hard style you were saying?
Oh, Sefa. His name's Sefa. Frenchcore. That's what I listen to. It's just pretty much 200 beats per minute. That dance music pretty much a lot harder.
Having a massive rave.
Yeah.
So how soon before? Because these are like fine margins. Because I think high level athletes, I always find these answers interesting. So say you have a race at 11 a.m. When does the playlist get put on? What time?
From the moment I get out of my warm up to the time I go up to the block and take off my AirPods.
Right. And are you one song on repeat? Have you got a playlist?
I've got a playlist.
Chelsea,
are you a fan of that music, or is this a laugh of you hate it, but it works for him, so you just let him go on with it?
I used to hate it, but I mean, I'm just so much with them now that I'm kind of on board with it. It's quite good, actually, if you give it time.
So when you were in the room, Conor, does anybody else hear the music? That like any of your teammates have an opinion on the tunes that you like to blast, or is it just a personal thing?
Like I've always loved this music since I was 10 years old, and I think people do hear it when I'm walking past them, or if they're walking past me. But that I keep it a personal thing, because like that's music I'm into. I love that music, and I grew up with that music. And if anybody asks, I'll just tell them, and if they're interested or not, like. But yeah.
So see, when you're aside from the music, have you any other sort of mental routine that you go through? Like, do you visualize at all, or is it just you just do the job without thinking about it too hard? Because if you think too much, it then could set you back.
Well, that's a question. My mom's always asked me that question. What do you think when you get on the block? What do you think when you're racing? And I've always given the answer to my mum is I don't think enough, and I just go and swim.
You just do it, yeah.
Everyone always makes the comment that Conor looks either really moody or so chilled when he walks out, and I mean, I guess it's not a bad thing because he's not all worked up about it and stuff, but he does have the adrenaline playing in the background. He's just really good at not making it seem like he's bothered about it.
Like I had that written in my wee notes here. I was like, you're in the eight best men racing in your category in the world. So everybody that's dived in a pool in your sort of discipline would like to be there, and you're one of that 8. And I think when you're standing there and you see what you look like, it's interesting.
Yeah, like compared to the Scott Quinn where he comes out and does his dance and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just if he did that, he wouldn't be himself. Like he'd be putting himself out of his comfort zone. Like I think when his face is like that, that's just him focused and in the zone, and he's ready to go. I mean, he always looks moody, and you never know what he's thinking. But I think that's kind of like a secret. It's like people don't know what he's thinking, and they can't take advantage of that. He just gets in and goes.
Yeah, so it's like a poker face, and it must help.
Game face.
Yeah. Game face.
It just doesn't look very good, does it?
I think if it was me, and I would have more of a game face like you if I was going out and it's the biggest race of your life, yet there's nobody there. So you're saying that wouldn't change regardless if those stands are packed with people. Conor Morrison looks the same whether there's 50 staff members there or 15,000 in a swimming arena. The face will be the same.
Probably, yeah. I think I'll still treat it the same. I think
you give a wee wave sometimes, do you?
I'll give a little wave.
There was no one to wave to this time.
Yeah.
So the first race when your heat, Conor. Do you feel as though that went better than the final? So what were your thoughts as you were going into that? Did you think you had a good chance of progressing?
Well, I was in the heat. I was going in there 6th place into the final, but I preferred my final my finals race because I think I planned that a little bit better. I can I I wasn't meant to do this, but like you normally change your stroke and change your technique at the start of the season. But I never told my coach this, but I kind of changed a little bit of my stroke going into the final, and I did that in the final. I wasn't meant to do that, so I thought, why not? Like I thought, gamble it and just have a blast with it, have a fun with it. And I did change my stroke and went the exact same time as what I did in the heat.
When you think back, do you have any regrets about changing that, or is it a case of you would have thought, what if you hadn't?
I think I was happy enough to change it. I don't have no regrets changing it at all.
After a race, when you see people on the TV and you see the swimmers, when they look to the lane at either side and they speak to each other, what generally gets said?
From that high level, I don't know, but from like local meets and all that, like that you'll probably say, "Oh, well done in the PB, well done, you smashed it," or like a handshake and stuff like that. But never got to experience that at the Paralympics.
Why not? Just because was there a reason you didn't approach the person next to you, or was it just?
I think it's just because I think there were more. I think from media approach, I think that they're looking at the people in the middle of the pool. The fastest 3 lanes, and I think they all look in the middle of the pool, and I think, well, I believe that I think they're the ones that will probably more likely say, "Oh, well done," a fist pump or a hug, or get on the lane rope and just and stuff like that. But yeah.
Do all the athletes generally speak English, or do you ever have to do that awkward sort of gesturing with people that aren't English speakers?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like when I was at Europeans and Europeans this last season, I had to tap some of the couple of the athletes from Ukraine or Russia or Italy just to give them a handshake and say well done. Yeah.
And they just like nod their head back because they don't speak. Yeah.
Some of them, yeah. So some of them do, but yeah, majority of them.
Some of them try.
Some of them try to speak English and say, "Oh, thank you," but some of them they try their hardest to like bow to me and stuff. I've had that as well, but yeah.
What's your relationship with Scott Quinn since you're Team GB teammates? Do you know him well at all?
Yeah, like we're the best of friends when we're in the sport, but we can be rivals in swimming. But I've kind of grew up with him racing for many years. I've done this sport for 15 years, and I've raced with Scott for what 10 or 12 years now. And like I think we've got a really close relationship with each other.
Did you share a room with him in Tokyo, or did everybody have their own room?
It was apartments. No, he had to self-isolate because he was in close contact with another member that had COVID. But he was a couple of apartments above me. But no, I was sharing apartments with one male and 3 females.
I wanted to ask about there was a bit of a furore before the Olympics, and they were talking about the beds being made of, they were like anti-sex beds, so it was like supposedly made of cardboard and it was going to be uncomfortable. What like were the beds to sleep in?
In my opinion, I enjoyed it. Like I like a hard bed. I prefer a hard bed, but yeah, like I slept like a baby at most nights.
Did you see that, Chelsea? Like before, they were saying it was like
Yeah.
because of COVID, it was like they were sort of not what do you call it, the
Yeah.
reusable beds, and they were designed so that people couldn't. It couldn't design to hold the weight of two people. Let's just say.
Yeah, him and his roommate used to keep joking that they were going to test it out and try and wind me up. And I was like, no. But yeah, no, they were cardboard, but they looked all right. You looked like you had good enough sleep anyway.
Yeah.
And they got nice Tokyo bedding and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you bring anything home, Connor?
I took home the duvet.
Imagine the maid coming in to clean the sort of the apartment afterwards. There's no duvet here. Somebody's nabbed the duvet.
Yeah, like I snatched the duvet and what else? I think that was.
What else?
What else? Yeah, I think that was the only thing I took home.
So did you not, like, aside, I take it you didn't get any sort of experience of Japan at all? You're just
like we couldn't go out and explore that much, but it was a really shame because I think if it wasn't for COVID, I think Tokyo would have been an amazing Paralympics, Olympics.
I think it would have been easily the best one, because that's what a country, what a people. It would have just been fantastic, and it is such a shame.
Yeah.
I think you could tell from the opening ceremony that it would have been insane because of how much effort they put into that, and I think everything else would have just matched it and been unreal. But yeah, it's a shame.
It is. Anyway, so what, like, for the two of you, the time difference, how easy or difficult was it to keep in touch with each other?
I tried to go nocturnal.
So did you were essentially living on Japanese time even though you were here?
Yeah, basically I tried to. But then obviously I was doing social media and stuff as well, so I kind of had to post in times that were relevant over here, rather than in Japan. So I was kind of I didn't sleep very well for like 3 weeks, and then the night he actually got his flight, I was up the entire night because I didn't sleep until he would text me saying he got there safe. And then we FaceTimed when he landed for a bit, and then he just went to your bed because it was about 11 o'clock at night in Tokyo. And then, yeah, every day we just FaceTimed, and it gradually got later and later for me. I think one time it was like 3 a.m. I was on FaceTime to him. But then, we kind of had like our times where we would FaceTime, and then we'd know the other person was sleeping or one was training. So, yeah, it was fine. It worked out in the end, but it was a bit awkward at the start to work it out.
What effect did jet lag have on you when you got there, Connor?
Oh, very bad. The
first couple of days you were fine, and then you kind of had like a delayed jet lag, did you?
Yeah, like I would through the day, I would have like a 4 or 5 hour nap through the day.
I told him off for that. I was like, no.
That's a small sleep. That's too long to be a nap.
That's what he does when he's back home.
You can't call that a nap. That's
yeah, I do that back home. Like I normally go to my bed about 1 after lunch, and then I wake up around about 5:30, 6 at dinner time. Get up and have my dinner, and
it's
then
ridiculous.
So, do you sleep at night as well?
I do, yeah.
Sit on the PlayStation for hours.
I sit on the PlayStation kind of most nights.
When you're back here, what's a typical training week for you, Connor? And do you balance it? Are you a full-time athlete?
I'm a full-time athlete, yeah.
Yeah. So what's a week like for you?
A week like, so like I train 5 evenings and 3 mornings, and then 2 gym sessions a week. Across all of that, I think it's pretty close to 24 hours a week I train. But
do you get help with? Do you have access to dietitians and stuff that tell you, nutritionists that tell you what to eat, or do you do that yourself?
Yeah, I've got my own. Nutrients coach. I've got my own lifestyle coach. I have my own gym coach, physio coach, and that's also supplied to me. So I've got all that as well.
And will they give you like a stipend that you can live off as well? So you'll be paid to be an athlete. Is that right?
Not with them, but I am a funded athlete from British. They fund me, but yeah, I do get paid as well. You
train at the University of Aberdeen, and how far is your drive in the morning to get, or in the evening to get to there?
Probably like an hour. Because I'm staying with a girlfriend right now, it's 10 minutes.
Do you live in Aberdeen, Chelsea?
Yeah, I just live not far from the hospital, so it makes his life a lot easier. He doesn't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning anymore.
So how did the two of you meet?
Tinder. It was Tinder in the height of lockdown, was it? Yeah. So we spoke for a wee while on Snapchat and Facebook and stuff like that, and then when lockdown eased, I drove out to Turriff and we went for a walk and stuff, and then
when lockdown eased, did you stick by the rules? Can't tell fibs on here. A tier 4 relationship.
I mean, possibly.
The COVID police are coming for you, Conor. That's...
I think I broke the distance barrier. I was supposed to travel 5 miles and I went 30, but...
Yeah, so you would have crossed the Aberdeen to Aberdeenshire border?
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. I'll phone the police as soon as we're finished here. Straight on to 999.
Worked out in the end, though, eh?
Yeah.
Oh well.
Is it all's well that ends well?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah.
He asked me to be his girlfriend right before he went off to Madeira. Like, he was at the airport, so he asked me, and then he left me for 2 weeks. Didn't you?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
As you do. Smooth operator, Conor.
Yeah, that's it.
So, as you move forward, Conor, then are you all in on Paris 2024?
I think so, yeah. I would like to think so. If there's not any other viruses or anything happening in the next 3 years. So, fingers crossed, yeah. Hopefully.
Is a 3-year Olympic cycle better than a 5-year Olympic cycle?
I think so, yeah.
You won't age too much.
It's coming quicker this year.
Do you have time to do any other sports, Conor? Did you ever try anything else?
Yeah, I thought about when I was at school. I thought we did snowboarding and skiing for a little while with the school, and the instructor came up to me and was telling me that because I was a para swimmer and I was at that age at school, I had the potential to go to the winter Paralympics and do skiing and that. And what else? I know, like when I was at school, I was very good at sports. I was very competitive at school. I always liked to win. I was very good at anything sporty looking, but yeah, I was very good with sports.
An individual sport, so were you more inclined towards solo sports rather than team sports?
Yeah.
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 You're not a team player, no.
It's not your strongest.
It's not my strongest sport. When we have to be a team player, then I'll put myself in that position to be the best team player that I could be.
And that's a wrap. A massive thank you to this week's guest for coming onto the show. I hope you all enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed chatting. All of the relevant social media accounts can be found in the show notes. The usual bits and pieces from me to see you out. The best way to keep up to date with the latest goings on relating to Lost for Words is to follow using the handle @LostForWordsPod on both Twitter and Instagram. Send a message on either Twitter or Instagram if you have anything you'd like to ask a guest, or for a guest suggestion, or even just to leave any feedback. The best way to support the show is to hit the subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts, and if you use an Apple device, a 5-star review in the podcast app would be amazing. If you like what you hear, tell someone. Word of mouth also helps us to grow. Finally, to round off, all of your support and continued listening is genuinely appreciated. It means a lot to me to have you on this journey too. I am your host Jason, and I hope to have you back next week for another episode of the Lost for Words podcast.